Hello folks, how you doing? It's that time again. It's Thursday night. Thursday the, what is it? 28th. Thursday 28th of May, day, I don't even know what it is. 63 is it of lockdown? Day 63? I think so. I'm a bit early, so I'm on my own. 7 o'clock, I was very punctual. Here they come. Here they come. Hello folks. Hello folks, how are you guys? 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock Thursday. It's that time again. Do I sound a bit nasal tonight? A little bit nasal. Hello, Joe's here. Hello, Jazz. Jazz gets in number 1. Hello, Ian. Hello, mate. Hello, Ian. How you doing, buddy? You alright? Hello, Jazz. Hello, Trace. Wace. How you doing, hello, Hockey? Here they come. Here they come. All me mates. All me mates. I'll tell you, someone made a comment, actually, an interesting comment that I'll share with you when you're all on board. So, tonight, as I've been saying, is a little bit different from others. In that my sister's coming on later. I hope she is. She's not actually here yet. See, my sister, love her to bits. The one thing about her is she's late for everything. And so there's that little bit of me thinks she's going to... Viv, hello Becky, hello Sarah, hello Julie. So yeah, big sister's coming on tonight. Hello Paul, hello Andy. And we're going to talk a little bit about... Hello Loretta, hello Tara. Did I say hello Tara already? I can't remember. Hello Polly, hello Chloe. Yeah, you're all on, aren't you? You're all coming in. Come on, welcome, come in. Come in, Lee Jones. Oh, Lee. Oh, Lee, yes. Yeah, so it's a foster and adoption night tonight. Let's call it that, shall we? Let's call it that. You lot know this already, really. Hello, Craig. Hello, buddy. Hello, Glenn. Because you're all regulars, so you kind of know, don't you? It's all girls in my family, Oki, as soon as you mention it. Yeah, it's all girls, mate. In fact, I'll tell you, most of you know this already. Oh, Chris. Basically, so I have 2 sisters. Hello, Claire. Hello, Alison. I have 2 sisters. Now, as you know, I have 4 daughters. So that's me with 4 daughters. My big sister, who you're going to see in a minute, has I've had a bit of a touch up, Gabs, yeah. Big sister also has 4 daughters. And my little sister, hello Sarah. And my little sister has 3 daughters and a boy. So basically there's one boy. Hello Dan, hello mate. There's one boy for all. So my mum has 11 granddaughters and 1 grandson. So it's all girls. All girls in outside the family. Girls galore. As I always say, and I know people are bored with me saying it now, I'm going to say it again. I always wanted to be surrounded by women, but I forgot to mention I didn't want to be related to any of them. Hello, Stefan. There you go. Be careful what you wish for. When you make a wish, make sure you cover off all the caveats. Hello, Heather. Sarah Lou. How you doing? You all right? Hello, Ian. Yeah, I know. It's a lot of girls here, isn't it? You should come round for dinner. Well, you've got your lovely girl. Obviously, your own lovely girl. Don't need any of mine. Well, I say mine, they're not mine, are they? Well, some of them are, but well, I don't own them. Do you know what I mean? But I do a bit. But way to talk yourself into trouble, Ian. Yeah, I'm famous for that. Anyone who knows me knows I'm very good at talking myself into shit. I think everybody knows that. If there's some shit to talk myself into, I'll get right in there. Hello, Emma. How you doing? Hello, George. Hello, George. Hello, Nick. Hello, buddy. You all right? So, hello, Lee. Hello, mate. So, as I was explaining, things going to be a bit different tonight. So what precipitated this? I suppose, as you lot know, all of you know, I read a couple of books on the show, one of which, I said hello, Colette, one of which is my my autobiography, right? Which, I mean, the working title was The Frank Account of an Ordinary Bloke. My little sister said that that's a bit wordy, so maybe I might just call it Foster Boy. I don't know. If it ever becomes anything, probably it won't, so it probably won't matter. But anyway, as you know, hello Martin, as just my biography, I've read it on here, and some of you are quite interested in it. Anyway, there are some parts of it that are a little bit... Oh, Mags is on. Hello, Mags. There are some bits of it a little bit, I guess, a little bit sad, a little bit hard-hitting, I guess. Yeah, at the end, I'm a comedian, and perhaps people don't see that side, but obviously we've all got both sides, haven't we? You know what I mean? But anyway, so I was talking about big sister who's just on now. Mags was watching, and Mags said she'd come on because when I discovered that we got this whole share a screen thing going on, I thought, oh, that's good. And so Mags said she'd come on. So very shortly, Mags is going to join me. I hope. I'm hoping she's going to press a button, and there it is. So, but what I'm going to do before I get Mags on, right? I'm just going to explain again a little bit about my background. For those of you perhaps don't know, I apologise to those of you who already do know for boring the tits off you, but I need to give the background in order to make sense when Mags comes on. So I'm going to give a little bit of background very quickly. Then I'm going to read the excerpt from the book that involves... what makes it sound like Aussie? That involves Foster Boy. Yeah, that will make me sound like an Aussie alcoholic. Foster Boy, good shout. Yeah, I was hoping to get some sponsorship from Foster's. So yeah, anyway, so then I'm going to read the bit of the book that basically Mags, she features in quite a lot of it, but there's hello Julio, book. There's a bit in particular that you've already heard already. I know you've heard already, but some of you haven't, and I just want to do it again just to give some context to what I'm talking about. So basically, I was fostered, as you'll all know, I was fostered in a little Essex village called Tollsbury. The headline is great life, great childhood, everything. That's the headline. Let's just get that out of the way, right? Within that, however, my foster home wasn't perhaps the best. I came out of it okay, but I think that's more down to maybe my friends and everything else. The home itself wasn't fantastic, largely due to my foster mum, who was quite abusive, really. In that, in today's terms, it would definitely be termed as abuse. She loved me, I believe that. I'm not sure she knew how to show that. Hello, Pam. She was definitely a very possessive woman, and that showed itself in some of her behaviours. All right, so that's kind of a little bit of background. I'm now going to read the piece from the book that well, you'll see. Anyway, I'm going to read the piece of the book. Then I'm going to bring my sister on, and we're going to talk about it a little bit, and maybe fostering in general. And I know some of you here have been fostered or adopted. I know that because you've told me already. Some of you also believe are thinking about it. So, let's see. Anyway, and then we'll do the quizzes as always. This is the theme, and then at the end of it, I'm going to read the poem. So here we go. Excerpt from the book. This is chapter 3. It's called Aunt Em, so it's devoted to my foster mother. Aunt Em was the matriarch. She was the boss, and her position was seldom ever questioned. She was a little younger than Uncle Stan and smaller in stature, which looking back made her very small indeed. She too had been brought up in the East End to be precise, and she would often regale us with tales of cockles, eels and the old barrow boys down the market. I'm sure they loved each other. After all, they'd been married for 200 years, but love wasn't something I ever saw demonstrated. She was cold, or at least to the naked eye, and stern. I believe there must have been tender moments between us, and I know she loved me dearly, unfortunately, maybe too much. She was fiercely protective of me, not so much in a protective sense, but more in a possessive one. It became clear to me as I grew that anyone who was close to me was an enemy of hers. This was never clearer to me than the time my big sister came to stay. Margarette was just over a year older than me, and the biggest wrench was when I left my family was leaving her. We fought like siblings do, but looked after each other with equal zest and commitment. Her visits were always something I looked forward to, like Christmas, and Aunt Em knew this. She made no secret of her feelings for Margaret and would delight in making up stories about her. Even then, though, I knew what she was up to, so I paid them no mind. During one visit, Aunt Em did something that to this day I'm ashamed of. Ashamed because I did nothing, because I was paralysed with fear. Margaret, like all of us, had good and bad points, and one of her worst was that she was a greedy kid. She loved her food, and her chubby appearance was a clear demonstration of her penchant for sweets, cakes and biscuits. It was her fondness for the latter that was a catalyst for one of my worst childhood memories. We'd received a tin of biscuits from one of the neighbours as a Christmas gift. It was a Rover, and anyone over the age of 30 will remember the Rover biscuit tins. Everyone had a Rover tin at some point, and when the biscuits had gone, the tins lived on, as many a school kid took them to school to bring their cakes or whatever in. Every known biscuit resided in these tins, and no one loved them more than Margarette. Now, there were strict rules in our house when it came to food, which differed from those enjoyed by Margarette in my real parents' home. Basically, everything you wanted you had to ask for, whereas my parents was more of an open larder policy. Mags had eyed said tin from the moment she arrived and had obviously decided to help herself. A crime worthy of telling off, perhaps, but certainly not what followed. We're in the kitchen when Aunt Em discovered the crime. This was not so much a naughty deed, but rather a challenge to her regime, a challenge to her power. And what's more, it came from the person closest to me. This wasn't going to go unanswered. And her answer was emphatic. Mags had a big mop of afro hair at the time. And another thing that Aunt Em would often deride when she referred to her as the wild woman of Borneo. Sorry, this fucking computer's playing over it. Right, so anyway, I know what happened, so I don't have to read it from here. So, where's here? As Aunt Em confronted Mags in the kitchen, I could see the rage in her eyes, and with a flash, she grabbed Mag's hair and began smashing her head against the wall while slapping her. She was slapping her. I was rooted to the spot. A young boy wanting to attack this monster attacking my sister, but I could do nothing. Fortunately, Mags was a tough cookie, and while shaken and upset, she remained defiant and refused to crumble. This, of course, enraged Aunt further, but her rage slowly dissipated and the beating ceased. Right, so that's what happened. That's the story. There are other stories, but that's the one that sticks in my mind the most, and the one that Mags and I will somehow discuss. We're going to discuss it now. So I'm going to bring Mags on. Hopefully, you know what I am with technology. If this goes tits up, right, then I don't know what to do, simply. That's all. So, no answer from live video thingy. So I think, Mags, I've done everything I need to do now. Mags, you know you're there, love. I've pressed the buttons. You need to do your bit. I'm going to press it again. Don't let me down. Right, approve. Add. This friend won't be able to watch this live video unless they're in your select... Oh, shit. What do you mean, my selected audience? No answer. Mags, I think you need to answer something, my love. I think you need to do something. You got to get on. Mags, I know you're there to see your little face there, but I think you need to actually do something. It says, unless you're in my select, let me do it again. To approve, right. Request to be in your... Allow viewers, send a request to your... You can add them at any point. Right, okay, that's what it says. So you're in, I add you. I've approved. Their friends won't be able to watch this video unless they're in... Oh, their friends. Well, that's irrelevant. So I'll keep adding you. No answer from live video guest. Right, I'm going to keep talking because Mags makes me look like Bill Gates when it comes to technology. She's probably not even in front of a bleeding... Knowing her, she's probably in the garden or something. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to... let's play games. Let's play the games until we get Mags on. Joy, if you're there and Mags doesn't come on, request to come on, will you? I don't know what Mags is doing. Don't know what she's cracking on about. Hello, Lucy. Hello, Carolyn. So what we'll do is let's play the game first, right? Let's do a game. And then hopefully we'll get... Yeah, it's hilarious. So she's here. Well, you're here, Mags. But you're not actually... When I press something, you need to do something, love. Bring Margaret on. No answer in video, I guess. Mags, why aren't you on, my love? Don't understand it. Don't understand why you're not on. I'm going to very quickly do the Who Am I? I'm going to do the quiz. Then I'm going to try and get Mags on again, right? Who am I? Remember what the theme is, folks. So here we go. This person was born in the 20s and married 3 times. The first time when she was 16. I think you'll get this very quickly. She was fostered, by the way. That's the reason she's made it onto the show. Hello, Rav. How you doing, buddy? Mags has gone again. Wondering what it's about. Anyway, so she was fostered till she was 11. Born in the 20s, married 3 times. First when she was 16. Who am I talking about? No, Wookie, not Jar Jar Gabor. I'm going to keep doing this while you're guessing. Not Jar Jar Gabor. There. Ah. Here we go. Not Judy Garland. Good stuff, Rad. Good to know you well. Not Shirley Temple. I think I'm going to give it Lucy Radford because you said Marilyn. Yeah, I'm going to give it Lucy Radford. Of course, Marilyn Monroe. I'll give you the other clues I was going to read out. It's Marilyn Monroe. Well done, Lucy. Lucy, I know you're new on, so you won't know what happens. You get to choose how I perform the song tomorrow. That's your prize, basically. So, well done, Lucy. The rest of the clues were, by 1953, I was one of the world's biggest stars. I died of an overdose age 36 in 1962. And the final one, who can't hear me? Final one was Elton John wrote a song about me. Can everyone, Rav's son, he can't hear me. Can everyone else hear me? What's Rav's son, he can't hear me? Mags is being added. I don't know why it's taking so long. But can someone just confirm they can hear me? I'm assuming you can. Yeah, what's that? No answer from live video guest. Mags, what are you doing? So, hello, Julian, how you doing? So, no, it was Marilyn Monroe. Well done. Let's do another quiz. Let's do another quiz whilst I'm waiting for Mags to sort herself out. Don't know what she's doing there. Picture not so good now. What's going on then? Was anyone struggling with the you can hear me. Someone said the picture's not so good. Is the picture not so good? Yeah, I know, Loretta, but you know, we know, didn't we? So I don't know what's going on. Anyway, right. I'm going to do the next quiz now. I'm going to do the film. Let's do the film, shall we? Is the picture not so good? What's it like? I wonder what that is. Hang on a minute. Bear with me, Pete. Picture's fine to some, not to others. So, I don't know what to say to you, peeps. Maybe it's your end. I don't know. Because some is good, some it isn't. I'm going to get Mags back on. We'll get on the first time, hopefully. Technology, eh? Jesus Christ. Love it, didn't you? Just waiting for Mags to come on now. This should happen. I was looking at other people, actually, whilst we're talking. Other people that fostered or adopted. Steve Jobs, John Lennon, Cher, James, Nelson Mandela. Here she is. Hello, darling.
Hi, Han.
Hello, you all right?
Can you hear me?
All right, big man. Right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. How you doing?
Excellent. Can I just add before we start that I no longer look like the wild woman of Borneo, just in case anybody needs clarification.
You don't.
Just putting it out there, you know, and putting it to us women.
Keep your camera
hold
still.
on.
Keep your camera
okay, we're just adjusting. Sorry. Babe, that's fine. Okay, yeah, that's great.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. How you doing? You all right? Get out of it. You're all right, big man. You're all right. How you doing, darling? You all right?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you. I'm looking forward to I always look forward to the show. But I'm going to be open and honest. So I'd like people to not feel inhibited about what they want to ask. People can ask whatever they want to ask, anything that they might be curious about. I'll be open and honest.
Brilliant. Good work. So okay, so you heard me reading the bit from the book, presumably, and and I guess that's a memory that is very clear in your mind. I see it. Not a great memory, obviously not a great time. I mean, what were your? Well, I'll tell you what, let's talk about. Right, people always ask me the question, why were we fostered? Actually, and what answer do you give? Because I'm never sure what answer to give. What do you have an answer? Do you actually have a definitive answer? I don't.
What, in terms of why we were fostered?
Yeah.
It's something that I've asked Mum on many occasions. I think the thing that I struggled with is Mum had always said that when she first came, it was difficult to have children living with you, and a lot of places wouldn't allow you to live there with your children. What was interesting for me growing up is most of the other people that were immigrants, so the West Indian families, always managed to have their children. And in the homes that I was in, quite a lot of people, they were orphans. So they would say to me, oh, how does it feel not to have a mum and dad? And I'd say, I have. And then they would look at me like, you fraud, you shouldn't be here. So I think I struggled with the aspect that a lot of homes I was in, people didn't have parents. So I couldn't understand why I spent a lot of time in various foster homes, yet I still had a mum and dad.
Okay, yeah, fair. I mean, I don't really know, you know, because I sort of mentioned the mum, and it's almost like she doesn't know. I mean, I just assumed a bit. I guess I always assumed it was a case of in the 60s, black people in this country, as you say, you know, it's bad enough just having black people in people's homes at all, let alone having them with children. So that's what I was assuming. But I obviously stayed at I went to one foster home only, and I stayed there, as you know. I outlived them, but you didn't. So why didn't you stay with yours? What do you think went on there?
I think, you know, whether we're lucky or unlucky, Jerry, I think for your temperament, you found a home where they took to you, and they did love you. And I know Aunt Em had a really strange way of displaying it, particularly when it came to me. I think I was a little bit more challenging, and a lot of the foster homes and I can remember that just from the way that I would behave. And there were foster homes where some of them said that they couldn't they couldn't handle me, but I'd be quite disruptive. And so it would be easier if I went to another home. But obviously what they didn't realize is the disruption and the reason why I behaved the way I behaved was because I kept getting shoved from pillar to post. And that obviously started to manifest in the way that I would behave. So the more, I mean, I think on remembrance, I've probably spent, from memory, 5 homes that I can remember about, and one particular foster home, over 25 children. And and you didn't have the regulations that you have in place today. I know that there are things that happen, but nothing to the point of what used to happen. You know, that you didn't have the safeguarding rules that we had, and some of the homes that I was in weren't particularly nice. I think nobody really treated me like Aunt Em did. Nobody beat me the way that she did. But some of them really made it known that you were an additional, you know, you were additionality to their family, and you were just there on a temporal basis. Some did make me feel included and loved and a part of their family. The unfortunate thing is those families that I felt like that, I quickly got moved on. So hence that's probably why I carried on playing up, because you know, for the families that seemed to love me, I got taken away. So I, you know, it didn't make a difference to me.
Okay, fair enough. Because people always say that to me again. You know, people, it made me smile. People always say, "Oh, have you ever met your parents?" You know, I'm like, "Well, yeah, I used to see them once a month and in the summer holidays." You know, people don't go. I always say the difference between fostering and adoption is with fostering, you get to keep the receipt, basically. Do you know what I mean? So, which in your case was handy,
Yeah.
wasn't it? So let's talk about Aunt Em for a sec. So, you know,
Yeah.
I don't like to speak ill of the dead, but
Okay.
you know, the fact is she was a tyrant, right? And as I always
Yeah.
say, however, this is me today, you know, so great. But, you know, let's talk about her and you for a sec. So it was clear to me quite young that, as I say, anyone who I loved, she didn't, basically. And that was a real jealousy thing. So, I mean, what are your feelings about her? What, you know, what are your memories and what are your feelings?
Um, my memories is really mixed, Jerry, because when I would come to stay, I wanted to see you and I wanted to spend time. And by then, there was only two of us. Obviously, Joy didn't arrive till 10 years later. So I looked forward to just spending time with you, and we had fun. But the dread that I used to have would be knowing that I would come and I would always be beaten or abused in some way, and I never really understood why. So I could never, there was always going to be something that I would have done that wouldn't have been right. And so the fear factor, and there were occasions where I used to say to mum and dad, I don't want to go there because she's really horrible to me, and she beats me. And mum would say, but there's no one else to look after you, so you have to go. So it was always a torn emotion, Jerry, between seeing you, which I was always happy, you know, to spend time with you, and we would go to the little park around the back. But my memories were never happy. For most of my childhood in a foster home, there weren't very many. There were more unhappy memories than there were happy.
Yeah. I mean, that day, obviously, the one I talk about in the book, obviously resonates with me. I remember it like it was yesterday, you know, and I just remember just standing there helpless because I was terrified of her. And she was a little woman, wasn't she? You know, but she was fearsome. She was a fearsome, aggressive woman, and you know, I always hated her for that. Always. I didn't hate her
Yeah.
but I hated her for that. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, she was nuts. I mean, let's have it right. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
she tried to stab me once. I don't. I'm laughing about it because she tried to stab me with a round edged butter knife. You know, but
Yeah.
she go, you know, so she was mad. I mean,
Yeah.
in this day and age, aside from her age, their age, they would never be allowed to foster. Let's be honest. You know, we know that now. But do you have any memories of Uncle Stan, by the way? Because he was such a quiet man. Do you,
Uncle.
Uncle Stan?
Yeah, and I think he was the way he was because he was quite fearful
Hmm.
of her. She was a very domineering character. I would imagine that in the local, and it was a village, Jerry. I mean, it was a local village of, I don't know, were there 10 people at most
13 to be
in
polite.
Tolsbury? There weren't many 10, and then us to do your maths. But you know, in terms of, I think he just wanted a quiet life. I don't think he would have, I don't think he would have liked to have made himself unpopular with her because she was aggressive.
Yeah.
She was an aggressive woman. I think for me, one of the memories that always stuck in my mind as I've got older is I remember thinking that a lot of being in foster homes, it made me very resilient. So I can imagine why some people are the way they are. But what it did
Sorry,
is
Meg.
it gave
Meg,
me.
Meg, sorry, Meg, can I just pause you for a
Yeah,
second? Sorry, Ian's just asked, I don't know if you can see the questions. Can you see the questions on
I
it?
can't.
Okay, let me, because Ian Smith just asked, has it
No, I
affected
can't.
you in any way as an adult?
Ian said what?
Has it affected you in any way as an adult? I assume he's talking to you.
Yes, yeah. I think what it did in a lot of my relationships and my lifestyle. So, for example, a lot of the relationships I had, I wouldn't stay in them for very long. So I never anticipated getting married and having children because I couldn't equate being anywhere for a long period of time. And even the job that I did, you know, I was a stewardess, so I flew around the world. So everything that I did, I think was when I, on reflection, it was my character, my personality. I needed to keep moving. I didn't want to be anywhere for any long period of time because I didn't associate that with safety.
Yeah.
So in my relationships, I wouldn't be in relationships for very long, and I wouldn't have. I wouldn't, you know, if I was in a job, I needed to be in a job where I did something different every day.
Yeah. Someone's asked also, I think I know the answer to this. Did you keep in touch with any of your foster families? I think you did for a little while, didn't you? Did you?
Not really. There was a foster family who I remember in Battersea who I really loved, and all of the families that I stayed with were white, but this particular family never made me recognise colour. But when I was aware of my colour, I can remember trying to scrub myself because I wanted to be white.
Yeah.
And when they, you know, one day they said, Nicole, obviously is what they used to call me, Nicole, why do you feel the need to scrub yourself to be white? And I said, because I think you'll love me more if I look like your children. And they said, no, we just love you as you are. So that's one particular fact, but that's only one family that and unfortunately they had to give me up as a result of, after a while, one of their children was becoming affected by the affection that they were showing me. So it was their love that they were showing me started to be detrimental to their own children, and that's why I then got moved on to another home.
Someone else also asked, did it make you? Did it give you trust issues?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 And I don't trust the person who asked that question. That was a joke. Yeah. Yes, it did. It did. It did. And I think for me, it's, I mean, after I left the airline, as you know, I went into teaching and teaching very problematic young people. I really had a greater sense of understanding why people behave the way they behave. And for a lot of the people that I used to teach had come from a care home environment. And there were a lot of things that I could identify with them and maybe talk to them on a level that other people couldn't really talk to them on. So there are aspects and elements that I do see, and trust is a part of it. Not so much now, but yes, definitely beforehand.
And someone else asked, I'll probably be the last question I ask you now, Max, is memory. Someone did say, it's an interesting one. Do you have any happy memories of Salisbury?
Just the time that we would spend together. You know, I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to, you had, you know, a nice circle of friends. I can remember your girlfriends at that time, Jerry. Yeah, you started having girlfriends when you were in your nappy. But yeah, and I do remember the friends that you had.
Yeah.
And I remember looking forward to seeing them because they weren't, you know, they were different from people in London. So yeah, that they were my happy memories, but there are other memories that are obviously very tainted and not as happy.
Right. Okay, darling. Well, look, thanks for that. I hope you enjoyed coming on.
Yeah.
And but actually, I will ask you. So now you've got you've got a husband, you've got 4 daughters. So you know you got over a lot of the stuff. Obviously, you managed to fall in love. You've raised 4 great girls. So positively, whatever happened to you back then, all's well that ends well, right?
Yeah. I'd say that I tried not to allow my past experiences to go into my future, and there are I think what it has done is it's enabled me to, for Dave and I both, to be the way that we have been with our children. So when they were being looked after, we had one childminder, and that was the same childminder that we kept for like 20 years. We didn't really let the children go with anybody else. We didn't really let other people come to our house and look after them. So the way that we raised them was very much both, you know, mindful of Dave for his own reasons and me for my own, but collaborative together. We would ensure that, you know, and I gave up flying as well so that I could make sure that I spent more time with the children and they weren't affected by me being away from home all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. It's funny, one thing you said actually, when you said about how your upbringing affected you in relationships and sort of not wanting, because mine was the opposite, weirdly. I wanted to have a family. I was desperate because what happened is in the village, obviously, I was brought up as an only child, even though I wasn't an only child. In the village, it was like I was only child. So I would go around my mate's house and everything, and they'd all have brothers and sisters, whatever. And so I longed to have a family unit, weirdly. I was exactly, so I longed to, and did very quite quickly. I was 25 when I got married first time. But yeah, so it's interesting. But one thing I did have, I had massive trust issues, and was with girls, you know, and was terrified of rejection, terrified of being left. Every girlfriend I had, I felt I had to be tied to her. You know, I was quite a horrible boy because I was just so possessive. And that was partly due to Aunt Em as well, because what Aunt Em would do, she would poison me. So anyone loved me. So when I got girls, she would poison. She was like, a girl would, I remember one time, my first girlfriend, Mandy, and I put her in a cab to go home to Colchester. And I took down the registration of the cab. So I'd never put a girl in a cab before. And Aunt Em said to me, why are you doing that? And I said, well, isn't that the thing you do, you know? And she said, no, you're doing it because you think she's a slag. That's what she said. She said, you're doing it because you think, and she used these words to me as a 17-year-old. She said, you're doing it because you think she's going to fuck the driver, she's going to fuck the driver. Wow. That's what she said. And so she sowed those seeds in my head. And that little drip is always there. Do you know what I mean? And it's taken me a long time to reconcile that and get beyond it. You know, in my younger years, I was very possessive. So unfortunately, that's something negative I got out of it. But as I say, the positive is, hey, we're both here, both got 4 wonderful kids each, and as our little sisters. So I guess all's well that ends well. You know? All right, darling. Listen, thanks very much.
Thank you
for coming on.
Thank you, hon.
We'll talk soon.
Have you got to get rid of me, or do I have to press something?
I finish, and I think you're gone. So I'm going to press finish now, and if you're not gone,
all right,
just turn off the electricity. So,